everyone, to another episode of Leading the Charge. I am 7 Sports Director Matt Beauvais, and how crazy is this? By this time next week, the Buffalo Sabres will have played in their first playoff game since 2011. It has been a long time coming. We know the Sabres are going back to the playoffs. We just don't know when they're going to play and who they're going to play against. But there's going to be a lot of clarity that comes up later this evening. So let's show you the full screen right now of the standings in the Atlantic Division and why this matters to you. With 2 games for the Sabres left to play, they are tied at the top of the division with 106 points. Here's the thing. They have the tiebreaker against Montreal. If they win tonight against Chicago at 8:30, the Sabres will clinch at very worst second place in the Atlantic, which would mean home ice. If they win tonight and Tampa loses, they would clinch the division for the first time since 2007. So there's a lot on the line. The team trying not to think about it too much.
I think it's a great opportunity for as well as we've played and where we've come from during the season. It should be a goal of ours. But we have to take it one game at a time here. Our goal tonight is to play a good game and win a hockey game. And wherever we end up and whoever we play, we know we're playing a good team. There's no bad teams left. So whatever those other teams do, they're going to take care of their business. We're going to try to take care of ours, and that's all you can ask for.
All right, so just once again, a really big opportunity for the Sabres. Sometimes it feels like when I'm explaining this, I'm not doing a concise enough job. Let me make this very simple for you. If you were a Buffalo Sabres fan, root for the Sabres tonight and root for the Detroit Red Wings. If that happens, you're going to be very happy either very late tonight or when you wake up tomorrow morning. So the Sabres have been on this absolute tear this season. They're playing some unbelievable hockey, and a big reason why has been the play of Sabres forward Alex Tuch. But he's also giving back in the community, and that's really, really cool. My colleague Derek Hyde shares this story about him and his wife's impact here in Western New York.
It was probably the longest 2.5 weeks of our lives.
I think I can't even speak about it to this day without crying.
For Sabres forward Alex Tuch and his wife Kylie, the hardest days of their lives had absolutely nothing to do with hockey. That's their youngest son, Teller, and when he was born last April at Sisters of Charity Hospital, worry immediately set in.
Then Teller came out, and we couldn't get him to breathe properly. He had his lungs collapsed 3 different times. We witnessed one of them.
Teller would spend more than 2 weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit.
After 2.5 weeks, we got some really good news that Teller's lungs had fully developed, and the puncture in his lung was healed, and he was able to go home. And that was one of the best moments of my life.
He's perfect. He's so healthy now, and we don't have to worry. Everyone here reassured us so much when they sent us home that he would be okay, and it was nerve-wracking, and we're just so happy to have this perfect little guy at home, and so grateful for everyone here.
Now, as Teller nears his first birthday on the 28th, the Tuch family is giving back to the hospital that saved their son's life in the form of a $50,000 donation.
Anything to help the wonderful people here at this hospital because of everything that they did for us. We wouldn't be here today without you guys. So thank you. We love you all.
The $50,000 will be used to support care in our NICU for extraordinarily advanced and state-of-the-art needs.
And to commemorate that donation, the hospital has renamed its neonatal transport rig Tuch's Truck.
And the rig is essentially an ICU on wheels.
The newly named truck safely transports the hospital's youngest patients to and from other facilities.
So we're very, very grateful to the Tuchs. The Tuch family has just made a wonderful difference for us. So
this is probably just the start of a partnership for us. I mean, like I said, this hospital has changed our lives for the better.
Derek Hyde, 7 News, Buffalo.
Yeah, unbelievable story. It's always cool to see the athletes in the community giving back. So shout out to Alex Tuch and his wife. Okay, so obviously we're talking about the Sabres this evening. We should be. They are the hottest team in town. But the NFL draft is also 10 days away. Snuck up on us a little bit this year because the Sabres have been such a big talking point. But tonight we're going to change that. My colleague Dom Tibbetts chatted with NFL draft analyst Chris Trapasso about what you need to know ahead of the draft 10 days from now.
We welcome on everybody. Chris Trapasso from DraftGraybook.com, NFL draft analyst. Chris, we are back again. Another year of getting ready for the Buffalo Bills draft. We were actually talking right before press record here is that normally this is kind of our sole focus this time of the year, but the Buffalo Sabres have been a fun little wrinkle for all of us to get into. But nonetheless, the NFL draft is coming up next week. And the Buffalo Bills are in a position where they need some depth. They also need some star players. They might need to hit on some of these first round picks. But again, they're picking 26 overall. So they're in this unique position. We all have to wonder, we're in limbo. What are they doing with it? Do they trade back? They move forward? We'll get into all that, but appreciate you being on, Chris. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, Dom. Thanks for having me, especially this time of the year. This is good to pass the time as we're about 10 days out until the draft and I'm counting down the days. So being able to go from watching a ton of film, doing scouting reports, evaluations, to actually talk about some of the players that I've been doing these evaluations on is a really good thing.
So you look at the Bills, just their roster need in general. Let's just start with maybe your 3 to 5 position groups that if you have an order, or just in no particular order at all, but the position groups where you look at the Buffalo Bills roster and you're like, yeah, this needs to be addressed in the draft.
So even though I always lean wide receiver, that I think in the modern day NFL, you can't have too many quality wide receivers. And even after the trade of DJ Moore, I still think the Bills could say, look, we want to add to the wide receiver group. I wouldn't put that need actually at number 1. I think getting another edge rusher, and that is also considering that they did sign Bradley Chubb. I think edge rusher is probably at the top. Wide receiver. They did not address defensive tackle or linebacker in free agency. Deion Walker had a tremendous rookie season. And they do have, I think, some good depth guys that can eat blockers and do a lot of the dirty work in this new Jim Leonard 3-4, but you still need someone else to play next to Ed Oliver and Deion Walker to rotate in. And then at linebacker, even though I think on paper, Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams are capable starters, we know that Terrell Bernard has dealt with a lot of injuries in his Bills career. So I think those 3 or 4 positions, mostly on the defensive side, I think is where the Bills will kind of lean if they're trying to prioritize specific needs in terms of positions early in this draft.
Well, yeah, let's just start there because there are so many defensive positions. And with Jim Leonard's defense, I think this is a unique situation for the Bills is that there's not really that architect guy that we know fit the Sean McDermott defense. It's kind of a blank slate in terms of how this team is probably evaluating the prospects and who they feel is the value they want to bring in on that side of the ball. You mentioned edge rusher. That's obviously one of the big position groups I think a lot of fans know they're going to hound in on here. One name I popped up a lot just in terms of where the Bills are and what their positional need is. When I was at the Combine this year was Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. Talk to me a little bit about him, and then maybe are there some other names there too, should the Bills stay at 26 or even on maybe a couple rounds later in the draft where you find some guys that are positional fits there?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. He is in terms of archetype, he is the classic 3-4 outside rush linebacker. He's not going to be this tremendous run stopper, and Sean McDermott probably wouldn't have been too high on him early in the draft. But in terms of burst, bend, and just getting to the quarterback with an outside speed rush, an occasional spin move or an inside move, that's Cassius Howell. He had the fastest 10-yard split among all edge rushers at the Combine, and I think that's what Jim Leonard coached with Nick Bonito in Denver, and what he had a lot of the times on those really good defenses at Wisconsin when he was the defensive coordinator. So Cassius Howell, I think there's a decent chance he'll be there because he has pretty short arms and is kind of a specific niche type player. But someone that at 26, I think if he's there, the Bills will probably consider him very much all the way probably until the end of their clock there at number 26 overall. There's 2 other names that I think would make a lot of sense in that similar archetype. Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher from UCF, who had over a 40-inch vertical at the Combine, super explosive player, similar to Howell, but a little bigger, like 6'4", 250, has very long arms too, so offensive tackles can't get into his frame as easily, and was very productive across multiple seasons at UCF. And then the other name that I think would maybe be more after trading back would be TJ Parker from Clemson. He was a huge recruit. We know Dabo Swinney always has those big recruits on that Clemson Tigers defensive line. Didn't quite live up to the hype, but we saw at the combine tested very well and is more of a 3-down player. He's going to be better against the run and maybe doesn't have that all-pro upside as a pass rusher like I think Howell and I think Malachi Lawrence could have. But those three I've really zeroed in on for the Bills, either at 26 or if they do a slight trade out all the way out of round 1 and have one of those first picks in the second round like they did in 2024.
All right, so that was just a little bit of our conversation with Chris Trapasso and with Dom Tibbetts. I feel like I know more about the draft in 4 minutes than I did before that, so that is certainly a good sign. And we're going to have more of that conversation coming up on Leading the Charge in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. So like we mentioned just a couple minutes ago, the NFL draft is coming up very quickly. 10 days from now, the Bills will be on the clock at pick number 26. But what positions will they be targeting when they ultimately make their first selection? Here's more of our conversation with NFL analyst Chris Trapasso.
We will now switch. Let's talk offensive here. Wide receiver. We've talked about this last couple of years. You and I have talked about this, and fans are going to crave for a wide receiver. There's plenty of talent there too. And the two names that I'll start with, just, and then we can expand this upon a little further, but the two names that are commonly coming up with the Bills, you're getting Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana, and you're getting Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. It seems like both of them fit, but they're different styles in their own sense too. Is there one you feel like is better, knowing that they're probably still going to be there, or is there one where you feel like the stock is rising so much that the Bills are going to have to get aggressive to go get them?
Well, that's a fantastic question and it's kind of funny because to me, Omar Cooper Jr., my high-end comparison, like if everything works out right with him in the NFL, is actually DJ Moore. So he's that type of player where 6 foot, a little bit over 200 pounds, rugged, yards after the catch type player, not an elite separator. Casey Concepcion, to me, is the exact type of wide receiver that the Bills have needed since this Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley era of 3 or 4 years ago, because he separates underneath. He's a super savvy and explosive route runner at the intermediate level, and he has vertical juice. He's got the kick return ability, and a lot of times the really good punt returners are great separators and good after the catch. That's Concepcion. So my flavor that I think the Bills need is the Concepcion type that is just an awesome separator, even though he's not super big framed. And it feels like if you look around a lot of the big NFL draft analysts like Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper and company, they're mocking Omar Cooper Jr. actually inside the top 20. So he could be that player, like you asked, who could like maybe be seeing their stock go so high that the Bills might not be able to pick them, or it would take one of those Brandon Beane draft day trade ascensions to ultimately get that player. It's actually probably Omar Cooper Jr. at this point, although it does feel like in the media, at least, there are a lot of fans for Casey Concepcion. So I don't think it is a shoo-in that he's going to be available for the Bills at 26. But we have seen the likes of Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I think he's a very similar player to, get picked in the 20s. So it's not as though, you can't ever get a quality wide receiver even in the back half of the 20s, because we've seen that with recent history. A lot of teams get good players in that portion of the first round.
Concepcion lets everybody know, too, he's a Rochester native during the combine, which was fascinating. One of those things you just don't know probably until he said it at that point, too. I think that's why Bills fans kind of clamor or identify them like, yeah, this is a guy who maybe understands exactly what this organization means. There's so much front end talent. It feels like wide receivers that could go. There's probably 5 or 6 guys you feel like maybe have a good shot at going in the first round. Chris, is a Denzel Boston, Malachi Lemon, the Jordan Tysons. Is there a world where the Bills could sit back and get him at 26, or would they have to get aggressive? And if you're Brandon Beane, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Do you go and try to get one of those premier talents, knowing they're guys who are highly mocked in the higher first round end of the wide receiver class?
So I think of like the perceived big 5. We just talked about Cooper and Concepcion. You mentioned Lemon. There's Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson. Of those 5 receivers, I would be borderline shocked if one of them is not available at 26. I think Carnell Tate is going to be a top 10 pick. Lemon somewhere in the teens. Then Cooper, Concepcion, and then to me, it feels like Jordan Tyson, who is going to do a private workout next week, the week before the draft, because he's been dealing with hamstring injuries in college and during this pre-draft process. He could ultimately be there. So, is it an absolute lock that 5 receivers are gone in the first 25 picks. I think that's reasonably unprecedented. And I think any of those 5 would be really good adds to this Bills offense. Denzel Boston, to me, is the type of player that I think the Bills were hoping that they were drafting in 2024 with Keon Coleman. 6'3", 225, and plays to that size. He was the best contested catch wide receiver that I evaluated. Awesome hands, knows how to box out. He's just not going to get open a ton and is not going to be tremendous after the catch. So I think he's actually in that next tier below that big 5. But if the Bills were like, hey, look, we don't like any of the edge rushers here, we like the value at linebacker, at defensive tackle, and they just picked Denzel Boston at 26 or after a trade back, adding someone that directly impacts Josh Allen. We've heard Joe Brady say it a lot when he's spoken to the media. Denzel Boston would absolutely do that and give the Bills another big-bodied receiver on the outside.
A position that, Chris, we'll have to get into offensively that we haven't had to talk about a lot with the Buffalo Bills because of the continuity is the offensive line. But you obviously, with David Edwards' departure to New Orleans, you kept a little bit with being able to re-sign Connor McGovern, and you're assuming Alec Anderson slides in and will probably pop in and play in that swing guard position for them. I'm just curious, is there a world where maybe there's a depth piece that you see? Because I'm going to assume Brandon Beane's probably not using a 1 or a 2, maybe even a 3, a third-round pick on an offensive lineman at this point, just given the talent among other positions that we've been talking about. But is there a name or somebody on the offensive line, a guard, where you could find this value of almost like how they did with Osiris Torrance a couple of years ago? You know, I think of the way they were able to find him and the value he has brought immediately. Is there a comparable pick somewhere in there that could fill the other side of him on the guard position?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. And I think it's important because like you said, the continuity has been a seminal feature of this Bills offensive line, or their offense in general, the last 3 or 4 years, that even the transition from Mitch Morse to Connor McGovern. And then since then, it's been like the same starting 5 when they've been healthy. And it's been one of the better units in football, run blocking and pass protecting. I would be also surprised if the Bills leave this draft without an interior offensive lineman, just because I think for as much as they like Alec Anderson, he's relatively unproven. They signed Austin Corbett, who's like a longtime journeyman that can play guard. But I think there's a little bit of uncertainty for the first time at one of those starting positions opposite Osiris Torrance. And yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of names that I really, really like in this interior offensive line class on day 3. And there's actually a player from Georgia, Micah Morris, who's enormous, that I have compared directly to Osiris Torrance. 6'5", almost 340 pounds, just like Osiris Torrance was in 2023. Not an insane mover. He's not super mobile, but is ridiculously strong, anchoring against bull rushes. And then once he gets his hands on you in the run game, it's over. So that's just one player that in watching him, I was like, man, I felt like I was watching Osiris Torrance again in the SEC. And you're absolutely right. In 2023, a lot of people thought the Bills would be apt to pick Osiris Torrance in the first round, and they just stayed put and got him in round 2. So I think this class, and in general, this is the case, there are decent to high upside interior offensive linemen typically available later in the draft. And I think his history shows, Brandon Beane, that he's fine with picking one of those players and developing them later in the draft. So whether that's as early as round 4 or with one of their last picks, I think just to bring in another body that's cheap and is young and has some tread on the tires would make a lot of sense, given that relative uncertainty at that left guard position after David Edwards' departure.
Well, look at that. If that's not a sight for sore eyes, I do not know what is. That is KeyBank Center, and that is the banner that you can see from the plaza that says Stanley Cup Playoffs, with what's that? Alex Tuch, Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson, and Jason Zucker. KeyBank Center getting ready to host their first playoff games since 2011. So here's the thing we know. The Sabres are going back to the playoffs, and of course that means there will be playoff games returning to Buffalo. Trying to get tickets today for people was insane. There were 30,000 people waiting in the virtual queue on Ticketmaster trying to get these playoff tickets because they're a hot commodity. We just don't know when they will be. Will it be game 1 and 2? Will it be game 3 and 4? We should find that out in the next couple days. Here's a look at the standings and what I'm talking about. So the Sabres are tied at the top of the Atlantic Atlantic right now with 106 points. Montreal off tonight. Tampa Bay playing. If Tampa loses, the Sabres actually lock up a top 2 spot in the Atlantic Division. Also could happen tonight if the Sabres beat the Chicago Blackhawks and Tampa loses or wins in overtime or a shootout, the Sabres would win the Atlantic Division. Let's keep this incredibly simple for you. The Sabres cannot finish lower than 3rd in the Atlantic. They are trying to finish 1st because that would mean home ice in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, and that would also mean a more favorable matchup in the first round. So we'll see how it all plays out. The Sabres hosting or taking on the Chicago Blackhawks at 8:30. So we'll have much more on 7 News at 11. Playoff hockey has returned to Western New York, and there are a lot of reasons to be excited. As we say goodbye tonight, this is just a really pretty shot of downtown Buffalo. For Jenna and Michelle in the control room, I'm Matt. Also shout out Chris Trapasso, Dom Tibbetts. Have a lovely Monday night, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.